Hey guys, Gavin out here, and we are down on the beach in the Gulf Coast. I just fixed me and Sandra up some cold brew coffee, black ties, and I've got my dead cat. This little instrument here, this is called a dead cat. This is what we use in the wind to make the mic so it doesn't sound terrible and obliterating your voice. So it's a handy little tool, and it's pretty windy out here. But here I am out on the Gulf Coast, and we're camped, well, right here on the edge of the water, and there's our ocean out there. And let's talk a little bit about that today. I thought I'd talk today about law, and if my title got you, the law of the sea and of the land, right? And you're like, oh, here Gavin goes, he's gonna go with some sovereign citizen stuff. No. So let's talk about that a little bit. Here I am on this coast, right? And I've been thinking a lot today about our suffering prisoners, from Schaefer Cox to Jeff Winehouse to the Bundys and Joe Robertson, and all these political prisoners out here, feeling the fresh air on my face and the blessing of nature, right? And thinking a lot lately about the law. People always use words to me. They always use words and say things like, well, he broke the law, obey the law, and everything will be fine, right? So what is it to break the law? And I want to talk about that real quick. I want us to think about that. What does it mean? I'm holding this mic up close, so this isn't a beard. It's actually my mic. But what does it mean to break the law? See, let's look at the ocean out there. I was thinking about this, and here's this ocean, right? What law does that ocean follow? Okay, that ocean, the tides come in and they go out, and the storm, and they go. And that ocean doesn't care about the laws that governments and man make up. I think it was Nebuchadnezzar, I could be wrong on that, but one of the ancient kings that was known for his arrogance, one time the water didn't do what he wants, so he ordered his men to go and whip the sea, because he thought he was all that. But see, the sea doesn't care about the laws of men. That's right, Alex. The sea follows the laws of nature, and nature's God. And here's the thing. Regardless of your religious beliefs, those are the only laws there are. That's the only law. And so people say, well, he broke the law. So let's say I'm sitting on this beach, right? And I'm camped out on this beach on the Gulf Coast. And a man comes down and he puts a sign up. Now, this is a public access beach, and he sticks a sign up and says, no camping on the beach, right? So does he have the authority to do that? In most cases, no. Now, if you've taken a piece of land out of nature, if you built a house on the seashore, right? Preferably on the rocks, not on the sand. And you build a house and then you say, well, no camping on my property. That's your property. You've taken it out of nature. But property that is public and for the beneficial use is not a law. It's not a law that you restricted. It wasn't a violation of law when Ammon and Lavoie and the Patriots went down to Oregon. It wasn't a violation of law when we stood up for our rights at the Bundy Ranch. See, law is life, liberty, and property when we come to the civil sense, right? Why? Because that's what we all have. I do a whole program on this, and I won't make this that long today, but law, in essence, you have your life. To sustain your life is given to you by God. If you're an atheist, maybe you say it's not from God, but you still believe your life is yours. You have your life. To sustain your life, you must have your property, and to have your property, you must have your liberty. Now, we could go on about that, right? I could go in more depth and make some more validations and proofs. But here's the thing. If the city comes down and they say no camping on the beach, they've made a statute, perhaps. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes I've seen them just make up signs and throw them up, and there's not even a statute. The question in law is, does a body have authority to make a law? So we say lawmakers, we say legislators, we say Congress makes law, and I say no, God makes law. Law does not change. See, Howard, you're right in that law is for the lawless to correct bad behavior, but the law is already there. A violation of law is always a violation of one's life, liberty, and property. This is the civil law. Now, you can violate a moral law that doesn't directly violate one's life, liberty, or property, and that's something that we'll account to God for. But the government's job is to promote and to maintain the civil order. Civil law is always life, liberty, and property. Our founding fathers affirmed this, and we laid it out in our constitutions. And yet, we have all these governments and all these people saying, well, you broke the law. You should go to jail. You broke the law. We have to stop being ignorant. Even our constitutional sheriffs and politicians, so-called, who actually are not, they don't know what law is. Do you know how rare it is? See, I study law a lot. And do you know how rare it is that I meet a lawyer that has any grasp of the law? They know statutes and procedure and arguments, but they don't know law. And law is so simple and it's so beautiful. So how do we quantify that? And people ask me questions a lot. They say, how do you feel about civil asset forfeiture? Well, of course, I feel that it's lawless because you can't take someone's life, liberty, or property without due process. Without just and due process. You can't have arbitrary judges, juries, and executioners out there and then make excuses for them because they wear a uniform. Guys, it's the police working for a corrupt government, willingly choosing to be treasonous, who are keeping our prisoners locked away in prison, who are torturing men like Ammon Bundy and Schaefer Cox and Joe Robertson, and letting people die in prison under their watch without care as they were locked away without due process. Our judges are traitors, they're terrorists, they are lawless. A judge has no authority in law because when a magistrate acts outside the authority that he's given, he ceases to be a magistrate. Their only authority now is a gun to our head, and make no mistake, that is very dangerous because they will kill. They will lock us away in prison. So it's not something to be laughed at. We have a nation run by traitors, and even those who may have a heart to fix it, who want to be constitutional and who want to make America great again, they don't understand what law is. They don't understand what our Constitution says, even though it's so beautiful and it's so simple. And so where does government get its power? Its power comes from the people, right? We grant a piece of our authority in this republic to the government. When they act outside that authority, they cease to be an authority. But it goes further because the people only have a limited authority to grant authority. You cannot grant authority that you do not possess. And so people will say to me, Gavin, that's the law now. The people have spoken. Right? The people have spoken. The law says you can no longer have that gun. And I say, no, that's not law. Because the people do not have the authority to violate my life, liberty, or property, or your children's, or my children's, any more than the government does. An individual cannot grant authority that he doesn't possess. Just like Congress cannot grant authority to all these alphabet agencies because they don't possess the authority in the first place. And furthermore, the individual, the people, the populace of the republic cannot grant authority to a government to violate the rights of others because they do not possess it in the first place. We need to know what law is. Someone in the chat here said, well, in Oregon, you can't even park somebody's RV on your property because it's against the law. But we need to understand and be defiant. It's not against the law. They have no authority to make such law. It's against fake law. See, we keep talking about fake news. Oh, we need to shut down that fake news. No, I don't want to shut down anybody. They have a right to their speech, even if it's a lie. What we need to do is be awake. See, the problem isn't fake news. It's that people actually believe it. The problem isn't that it's a lawless people that stand up for their rights and for their neighbor and love their neighbor. The problem is that we have a nation filled with fake law and with officers and officials who enforce fake law, which violates our Constitution, violates our rights, violates God's word, violates the values of this nation, and is treason. We've got to know what fake law is. So when the government says you can't park a camper on your property, it's your property. They have zero authority to say that. If you're not harming someone else, they do not have that authority. Now here's the kicker. You have to decide which fake law you want to fight, right? Because you can fight the fake law of this statute or that statute or the speeding ticket or the seatbelt ticket. But make no mistake, every violation of their fake law under these fake courts and traitorous judges enforced by traitorous sheriffs and officers, all these violations are punishable by death even though you have committed no crime. Schaefer Cox and Jeff Winehouse and the Bundys, they are in prison even though they have committed no crime. The criminals are the ones holding them there. And we have to find the boldness to stand up and say no more so that we can set the prisoners free. We have to change our hearts. We have to stop being distracted. We have to learn what real law is and fake law. We have to discern truth from lies. We have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Property tax is fake law. The government has no right to charge you for what you already own. Restrictions on your travel and checkpoints are fake law. All these made-up crimes that claim to have a victim and lock you away, and gun restriction and substance restrictions, they're fake law. We never gave the government that authority because we never had the authority to give it to them. Go out and learn what the law is, but its foundation is life, liberty, and property, and its ultimate foundation, in every sense, is to love God. And even if you don't believe like me, people say, well, what about the atheist? How do they be a patriot? And I say to the atheist, here's what I say to the atheist. Just stand up and love your neighbor as yourself, but be warned, because if you do that, you may find yourself closer to God than all the charlatans in all the cathedrals in all of the world, because that's the foundation. You guys have a good day. I'm gonna go enjoy some time with the family. Let's go out and teach people real law.